Opening up about certain things is never easy, especially when feelings are at stake. The desire to tell my story grows inside me. What I am about to share is a story made of unexpected impulses and limits crossed, of barriers that I thought were insurmountable, and which instead turned out to be permeable. Before continuing, subscribe to the channel. It costs you nothing, while for us it is fundamental. The first time Giuseppe told me about his desire, it was a warm summer evening. We were sitting on our terrace, a glass of wine in our hands, while the moon illuminated the garden with a soft and almost enchanted light. There was something different about him, a shadow of thought that he couldn't disguise. He opened himself carefully, his voice slightly tense, revealing a thought that had been floating around in his head for a while. It spoke of the difficulty of keeping a long-term relationship alive, of the inevitable routine that, despite all the love, can sometimes tarnish even the strongest bonds. I listened to his words, trying to grasp the meaning of that speech, until he got to the point. He had read about couples who found new momentum by exploring out-of-the-ordinary experiences, even if this meant opening the relationship to encounters with other people. I felt like I was living a strange, almost surreal dream. I didn't know whether to expect a plot twist, or if he was really being serious. Giuseppe, however, showed no signs of joking. There was sincerity in his eyes, a mixture of curiosity and vulnerability. It was not a desire for separation, nor a lack of love. Rather, a push toward something unknown, a need to explore a new dimension of our intimacy. My mind filled with doubts and fears. I had never imagined that Giuseppe could entertain such thoughts. The very idea of betrayal, even if only theoretical, seemed unbearable to me. However, the honesty with which he opened up pushed me not to close down immediately. I knew that ignoring that talk would only drive distance between us. It was necessary to talk about it, even if it meant entering unknown and slippery terrain. And you, how would you react if your partner proposed something so unexpected to you? Write in the comments. In the following days, I thought for a long time. Each thought seemed to overturn the previous one. I felt like I was suspended between the love I felt for him and the sense of loyalty that had always guided our relationship. It wasn't just a sexual question, I realized, but a search for something that could go beyond the traditional concept of a couple. I sought comfort in the words of some trusted friends. Sarah, in particular, told me that although it was an unusual topic, it was not uncommon for couples to explore new avenues to rediscover each other. He advised me to speak openly with Giuseppe, to establish clear limits, and to understand if this was really a viable path for us. When I faced Giuseppe again, we were both very attentive. We talked for a long time, sincerely, and without judgment. We decided to explore this desire with extreme caution, establishing precise rules so as not to hurt each other. It wasn't an easy decision. Each step brought us closer, but also challenged us. It was like walking on a tightrope, where risk was always present, but where, surprisingly, we also found a new balance. Over time, this experience led us to get to know each other more deeply. We discovered hidden corners of our personalities, faced fears and insecurities that we had never admitted even to ourselves. Our marriage didn't emerge unscathed, but not in the bad way you might think. We were no longer the same as before, it's true, but we had grown, both as a couple and as individuals. I don't believe that such a choice could be absolutely right or wrong. Every relationship is a universe unto itself, and only those who live within it can understand which boundaries can be moved and which are insurmountable. What I know is that our story, with all its complexities, has become a tale of authenticity and courage, and despite everything, the love that unites us has found new roots, deeper, and perhaps even stronger. What initially seemed like a strange and difficult desire to understand slowly transformed into a path of growth and discovery. I don't know exactly where the future will lead us, but one thing is certain. I am grateful for the honesty that guided Giuseppe and me along this winding road. Thanks to open and sincere communication, we were able to face together a challenge that could have driven us apart, but instead allowed us to strengthen our bond and deepen our relationship. Every couple has their own story, their own difficulties to overcome. Ours was marked by an unexpected desire, which forced us to look inside ourselves with courage, to deal with hidden fears and desires. It was an experience that taught us a lot about love, mutual trust, and personal growth. Since then, we've continued to walk together, hand in hand, towards the unknown, aware that communication and understanding are the key to facing any test that life decides to throw at us. Over time, as we try to adjust to our new balance, I realized that maintaining that transparency and mutual respect wasn't always easy. Giuseppe hadn't opened his heart to me out of a momentary whim, but because he felt the need to explore an aspect of our lives that we had never really considered. However, not every day was clear. There were moments when tension filled the air, heated arguments that tested our patience and our unity. I remember one evening in particular. Giuseppe had just returned from a business trip and had a tense, almost tormented expression. During dinner, we tried to chat about this and that, but his anxiety was evident. I understood that there was something we had to face, something he had left unfinished within himself. When we finally found the courage to open up, both of our fears emerged, his worry that our path was taking us away, and my fear that despite all our efforts, we would not be able to find our serenity again. That night, instead of walking away, we looked for each other. The contact between us was not only physical, but also emotional. I felt his warm breath on my skin while his hands slowly ran over my body, as if wanting to rediscover every curve, every detail. Our gestures were delicate, but also intense. There was a sweet urgency in his kisses, a sincerity that went beyond words. We remained embraced for a long time, listening to the beat of our hearts in unison, as if the silence could speak for us. We decided to take some time for ourselves, to push away external influences and rediscover the intimacy that had always united us. It was like removing a layer of dust from our relationship and rediscovering the warmth we thought had been lost. Over the next few days, we took time to explore new forms of connection, not only physical, but also mental. We tried to carve out spaces of intimacy in unexpected moments, a distracted caress. While we were preparing dinner, a meaningful glance across the room, a hand reaching for the other under the covers. From that point on, we began attending couples therapy sessions. It was an important step, which helped us clarify our feelings and develop tools to face difficulties together. During the sessions, we learned to strip ourselves of our insecurities, to open up without filters. Sometimes the words became heavy, other times liberating. Therapy offered us a new way of communicating, more open and sincere. We learned to support each other, not to let our insecurities take over. During one of the sessions, the therapist asked us what we had learned from this experience. Giuseppe was the first to speak, and his words touched me deeply. I realized that despite everything, our love and trust that we had built over time were still there, solid and authentic. I too found my voice and shared what I understood, that there is no single path to experiencing love or intimacy, that every couple has the right to explore and grow, as long as they do it with respect and sharing. I realized that our relationship, although put to the test, had found a new balance, more mature and aware. As the months passed, our relationship stabilized. We found a rhythm that worked for both of us, and the experience that initially destabilized us turned out to be a valuable source of lessons. We were able to see the uniqueness of our love in a different light, appreciating even more those small daily gestures that often go unnoticed. One evening, while we were back on our terrace with a glass of wine in our hand and looking at the stars, Giuseppe took my hand. His touch was warm, reassuring. In that moment, I understood that we had been through a storm together and that, despite the difficulties, we had emerged stronger. I felt the gratitude in his words and the serenity in his gaze. I felt grateful. Even though the path had been tortuous, it had taught me that our love could withstand any test. We had demonstrated that with the right amount of honesty and respect, you can overcome any obstacle. That night, with the moon shining on us, I felt profoundly at peace. I didn't know what the future would hold for us, but I was certain that whatever it was, we would face it together. I knew that our love was our greatest strength, and that thanks to this complex and intense journey, we had discovered a bond that went beyond words, beyond desires, beyond fears. If you want to receive new videos of the series, write, "I want the sequel," in the comments. If you like the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel to receive a preview of future publications. Thank you.